Hey guys, Declan here. And just before we begin, I just wanted to say that this episode includes some pretty heavy conversations around mental health and around suicide, which I know might be upsetting for some of our listeners. Just wanted to encourage you guys to listen with care. You know, as a people of faith, we believe in the hope and the healing found in Jesus Christ, but we also recognize the importance of seeking professional help. If you are struggling, or if someone you know is struggling, please reach out to someone you trust or connect with a mental health professional. In Australia, you can contact Lifeline on 13 11 14, and you can contact Beyond Blue on 1300 224 636. You are not alone, and there is hope. I love you guys. Beautiful singing.
I was only warming up.
Thank you for coming to have a chat.
Pleasure.
Sorry to hear about the corner of your building.
Oh, it's part of life. It happens.
So we film in the Sutherland Shire, and you grew up in the Sutherland Shire.
God's country.
God's country.
Yep.
Correct?
Correct.
Tell us more.
Grew up in President Avenue at Kirrawee, just near the corner of Oak Road. Went to Kirrawee Infants in Clements Parade, Kirrawee Primary in the same location. Then after high school, I started at Janelli Boys High, following in the steps of my two oldest brothers, because they went to Janelli Boys.
My dad went to Janelli Boys.
That's when it used to have Janelli girls across the road as well.
Yeah.
So, yes, it was quite interesting.
Yeah.
And then come second form, it was into the first couple of months in the second form at Janelli, and I actually wanted to do music as an elective subject. So I actually transferred from Janelli Boys to Kirrawee High, which had just opened, which was, I'll give them an age away, 1966.
What year were you then, sorry?
That was my second form at high school, which is what, year 8.
Okay, cool.
Hang on, 6th class, 7th class, 8th class, year 8.
Yeah. Was 6th class high school back then?
No, 6th class was top of primary.
Yeah.
And then first form, which was now year 7.
Yeah.
I'm still foot and inches man, so...
What's that song you always sing when I bring up the fact that I am a metric man?
Oh, the jingle for the 14th of February 1966.
Yeah, that's for the pennies though, isn't it? That's for the money. That's not for the for Valentine's Day. What is that?
14th of February 1966.
When they changed our currency over.
Yes.
66.
Yep.
Cool. So, grow up in the Shire?
Yeah, grew up in the Shire. Had most of my life in the Shire.
Christian upbringing?
We went to Sutherland Methodist Church. My mother was the organist there, and my two uncles sang in the choir there, both violinists, and played instruments at church. So, went there for, probably until I was 11, when I started high school. Actually, no, it was a bit before that, because when I was at primary school, my best friend, who I met in, no, it wouldn't be kindergarten, I think it would have been second class, a guy called Ian Mitchelson, and they lived on the Kingsway at Guymere, just up the road from the Tech. And he and I became very, very good friends. We sat together, we just did everything together. And his parents and himself, plus his sister and brother, went to Guymere Baps.
Oh, yeah.
So when it was...
Was it in the same place it's in now? The same on the corner there?
Guymere Baps, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So, having a good friendship with him, starting to get a involvement with him, going and jumping on our bike and going and visiting him coming up to my place. And it would have been probably just going into high school where I started going to Guyme Baps with him, and his family were there as well. And it just went from there. It felt very easy to walk into the church, and not having the old Methodist way of life. And the good thing was that getting away from family as well. There was, because mother, uncles, and all the family at the Methodist church. But don't get me wrong, the Methodist church was great. We used to do gymnastics. They learned gymnastics. Used to have a lot of things. There was a boys group called OK's, Order of Knights. It wasn't a secret society or anything like that, but that was just what the Methodist church called it back then.
Oh, yeah.
And my brothers and my cousins, because we all lived in the area, all went to it. So it was a total family affair.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and then, over to Guyme Baps, where I got involved in Boys Brigade with Ian and all the others, and went to Guyme Baps until I got married. So it was good.
And what age was that when you got married?
23.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So regular churchgoer all the way up till 23.
I'd call it a attender.
Attender.
Knowing what I do now as salvation.
Yes.
It was like catching a bus or going to school. It was or going to work.
Right.
It was going, you went, and yes, you I won't call it the ritual, but you get into that routine.
Yeah. It was just church was church was just something you did.
Yeah, because we'd been going to church ever since I can remember, going to Sunday school, going to the little Sunday school at President Avenue and Churchill Avenue at Kirrawee. There was a little hall there. And because that was an extension of Sutherland Methodist, because we could walk there, it wasn't a problem. So it was something that we did as a family and just continued to do it. Sunday morning came, we got dressed, our collar and tie and our shorts and long socks.
Sunday best.
And off we went.
And you were a panel beater, right?
Yes, I did my trade down at James Callaghan Smash Repairs, 128 Turren Point Road, Turren Point. Unfortunately, they're not there anymore, but that was a plug. Yeah, I did 10 years down there.
Yeah, right. From out of high school or?
Straight out of high school. I actually was looking for work while I was still at high school because my parents said to me that I have a choice. I either go on, and I know it's the same these days, I either go on at school, which I absolutely hated school. Well, I shouldn't say that. I totally disliked it with passion. Yeah. Found myself an apprenticeship, which was probably 3 to 4 weeks before I actually left school.
Yep.
And I left school one day and walked out, took my tie off, put it up the flagpole at Kirrawee High School, and started work the very next day.
Oh, cool.
And never looked back.
And how long did you do that for?
I actually was worked for them for just over 10 years.
Yep.
And then when I got married the first time, I was offered a job with an engineering company in the petrochemical industry.
Oh, yeah.
And transferring from that over into that field of expertise was the basically start of my mechanical engineering career.
Yeah.
So, which was great.
And that's what you did for the majority of your career?
I've been involved in heavy transport, well, basically from the time I started doing panel beating, because there was a company called Rapid Transport next door to us.
Right. And
Mack Trucks' original yard was just down the road from us, so we used to do work for them. International Trucks in at Sydenham, we used to do work for them as well. So we were very versatile and
Connected.
what we did in the workshop, because it wasn't just a panel shop. We did paint, we did mechanical work,
Right.
auto electrical, glass,
Right.
trim work. So
Right.
I was very fortunate, and I know God's hand was all over that, but just giving me that environment to work in, because it was two business partners.
Right.
They were good mates with their wives involved in it, so it was the four of them running it. And them taking me on as their very first apprentice was a big call for them, and just being there for 10 years, and it was very beneficial to me, but it was also very beneficial to them. They came to my wedding and my 21st birthday party. It was
Like a bit of a family.
Yeah, it was. It was family.
Yeah.
Used to go down to their place and have lunch and things like that. So, yeah, it was good.
That's so important, even as an early working kid, really, to have that culture of family in your workplace and trust, and it's big.
Yeah, it is, and it was family. And anyone listening to this, if you're in business, have a real hard think about your employees, because later on in life I became a boss and an employer, and I was not really nice.
Right.
But looking back on what they did for me back then, number one, putting me on in the first place, which was a big gamble for them, giving to them the hours that I put in, plus my dedication to my trade, which I'll touch on in a moment, but teaching me the actual value of, number one, employment, and secondly, the value of money and how to manage money. Because one of the bosses said to me, now that you've got your pay, what are you going to do with it? And I said, well, I've got to pay my board first off, and I've got to put petrol in my old ute, secondly. And he said, what are you going to do with the rest of it? I went, oh, I got no idea. I hadn't even thought about that. He said, I'll tell you what, I'll take $5 a week out of your pay, and we'll put it in the bank for you. And that's how it all started. And I did not miss that $5. At the end of the year, the first year, I had just over $500 saved up in my bank account that had been squirreled away.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, that they were very cunning, because for all those people out there back then, I was taking home $19.20 in my hand a week.
A week.
And $5 used to go to my mum for board.
Yep.
I'd put $2 in my vehicle for petrol. I'd put usually about $2 in the plate at church, and then whatever I had left over, that was mine. I used to take my lunch to work every day. I would never buy any takeaway was not that available like it is today. But there was always just nothing that I'd waste my money on.
Yeah.
And actually, he said to me, there's a lot of people out there that waste their money, and alcohol and cigarettes are the number one waste of money. My father was a smoker, and I absolutely hated that, and I saw the amount of money that went out the door just with that. And then with the people around me, watching them, wasn't a lot being involved or I would say insular in the world with all what went on while I was growing up. But then when I got into the working world, you could actually see what went on. My eyes were opened into really the real world.
Yeah. Yep.
And here I am at 15, thrown in at the deep end, and went, oh, here we go. This is the world, what it's all about. And yeah, there's some things I want to do, but a lot of things I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And wasting money was one of them, and it still is.
Yeah. Yeah. I've wasted a little bit of money in my time, but I wish I didn't.
Oh, later in life, I wasted a lot of money.
Well, let's get there.
A lot of money. Yeah, so that was growing up in the Shire. My first wife, Julie, we bought our first house in, actually it was at Warrenora down by the river, near the caravan park on the Menai side. It was an old place that we bought and did up.
Nice.
and then started to do home renos. So I was probably 40 odd years too early. I should have had a camera crew on me while I was doing the renos on that place. We were there. We owned it for. We actually bought it before we got married, so we could do it up, and with help of parents, some mates, and just renoed. We lived in it for just on 9 months and then put it up for sale, and that was the start of buying and selling and renovating.
Flipped it.
For the many, many years to come.
On to the next.
So, we did that a number of times.
Yeah. All while you were panel beating. Is that right?
At the later stage, yes. The last year, my first year of marriage, I was still panel beating.
Yep.
But then we had the opportunity with my next door neighbour. That was when he was talking to me one Sunday afternoon over the fence, asking me what I was doing, and he was actually looking for someone to employ into that engineering field.
Yeah, right.
And he took the punt on me. So that's two employers that took the punt on me, and haven't looked back.
Yeah. It's crazy the people that take a risk on us sometimes. It's like Pastor James. He took a risk on me. Holy moly, did he take a risk on me when he first employed me at church. But I think it's paid off somewhat well, and I'm very grateful for that risk, to be honest with you.
And so am I.
Yeah, well,
a lot of us at church are.
Well, there you go. That's nice. Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure. You deserve the praise.
Yeah, nah.
I know it's hard to take sometimes, but take it.
Thank you. I will try.
Good.
And you were still going to church throughout those formative years after high school, panel beating, trading?
Yeah, because I was heavily involved in Boys Brigade. Doing panel beating, doing some restos of cars as well.
Yep.
Hotting them up and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the guys in Boys Brigade was into rallying, so I used to help him build his Datsun 1600 for rallying. So
rallying is what for those listening, and definitely not me because I know all about it.
Cars that run around on dirt tracks.
Yep.
Cool. And you have a driver, and then you have a navigator beside him, telling him what corners are coming up.
What's coming up? Yeah.
The degree of corner, how far it is, speed, things like that. And it was
that's fun.
In the very early days of doing all of that. It's basically been around cars, engines, trucks all my life.
And you love it.
Still do.
You're like my dad. You're a bit of a MacGyver. You can just do everything.
Oh, I wouldn't.
It's very annoying. It's very annoying. If I have a problem, I'm like, Brazzy, help me. What do I do? Well, you're like, I've got the tool for that in my shed. Let me bring it and I'll help you. I'm like, of course you can do all the things.
Anyway.
Most of the things.
Thank you for the flattery.
So you take that new job?
Yeah, I took the job. It was called Trelaw Distributing.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually made petrochemical handling equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Right down to when you fill your car up with petrol, you've got the nozzles in the Bowser.
Mm-hmm.
They manufacture those nozzles, the hoses, the pumps, the underground tank equipment, the petrol tankers running down the road, all the hose fittings for them, the vents, that type of thing. Also at the oil refineries for the loading of the trucks, trains, boats, ships. Yeah, it was pretty enormous. And
that was an Australia-wide job, was it?
It was Australia-wide. The office was in Milperra, but head office was originally in Alexandria, which was a non-ferrous foundry. And then they moved it up to Rutherford, just outside Newcastle.
Oh, yeah.
When they were having the decentralisation, there was government grants available, so they took the government grant, went up there, got land and built a very big facility, which is still going today. So, that's how I broke into a different field, but it was still the same field.
Yeah.
Where I'd go into the different oil terminals, transport terminals around Sydney, Newcastle, Melbourne, Canberra, and have a look at the upgrades, because at that stage they were converting over to unleaded and something called vapour recovery, where stopping the vapours from the fuel going into the atmosphere.
And that's what clicks off the
No,
bowels
it was
as well,
actually,
right?
Yeah. So that was one of the things I got involved in, and it was a really sharp learning curve.
And what age were you at this point?
How old was I? 25, 26?
Yeah, cool.
No, I was older. 27, 28.
27, 28.
Yeah, 27,
And you said you got married at 21, right?
23.
23. Okay. So 5 or 6 years
I'm just trying to put the timeline
into
together.
marriage. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's 28. And you have a couple of kids, right?
Yes, 2 daughters.
And when did they come along?
95 and... 85 and 88.
Cool. How old were you when that... So that makes you, what, in your early 30s?
I was 29 and 10 months when my eldest daughter was born in February. So that gives away my age of April and 30.
Yeah. No, you're like 50 years old or something, right, aren't you, Brian? Ready to rock?
Well, 1955 was a wonderful year, and I've just celebrated my 70th birthday.
And you look fantastic. And you're very wise, I will say that. For all the people, we'll hear some wisdom.
I don't know about being wise.
We'll hear some wisdom. We'll get there. So, a couple of kids, and you're close to 30s, late 20s, early 30s, and then how long did you do that role for? That job, breaking you into that. I can't even remember what it was called. The cool one with the Bowsers and the gas.
Oh, the petrochemical.
Petrochemical, yep, that
handling
one.
Equipment. Wow. Gee, really getting the grey matter working now. I did that for, I think, about 6 years.
Uh-huh.
But 1980, yeah, it would be about 6 years, because the guy's name was Fred Badman, and he was the one that encouraged me to do starting a course in purchasing and supply.
Yeah.
Looking after the workshop and the warehouse and things like that.
Yeah.
I started that for 6 months.
Yeah.
And he said, "No, this isn't you."
Mm.
And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You're not the. I can't have you in here." And I'm thinking, "What do you mean? I've just come out of a workshop for 10 odd years, whatever it was." And he said, "No, I can see more in you." And that was when he gave me the opportunity to go and do management.
Yep.
And went, okay. So I enrolled in management. He said if I pass each year, they'll pay for all my tuition and books and everything else. So, finished my management and went from there.
Yeah, cool.
And then from that, he was the one that also suggested that I go and look at doing mechanical engineering, particularly automotive, because of my background, just to sharpen my skills. And that's when I started doing that. So 4 years of management, and then struggling for the next 9 years doing mechanical engineering, automotive. So
awesome.
Part-time, but yeah, it was...
Studying.
Studying, exams, all the rest of it to get qualified.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it was a long road.
Yeah.
The management I found was very difficult, but I was very fortunate that the guys I was going with, there was, out of the class, there was 5 of us that got together every Sunday morning, and we'd study, we'd do assignments together, and really if it wasn't for them, I would have pulled out a long time ago.
Right.
So it was through their...
Some good community.
Yeah, their encouragement got me through, because, as I said before, disliking school, but then it's totally amazing, because going through my trade, I thoroughly enjoyed doing that. I finished as Dux of the State, and I finished with honours. So very happy with that, and just turning around looking at it going, for someone that really disliked going to school, you did okay. So I was quite pleased with that.
Yeah, that's really good.
But as an encouragement for those people out there, when teachers tell you you're not going to succeed and that type of thing, you find something that you love to do. As I say, I have never been paid for a day of work in my life because I don't work. I get paid to do what I enjoy doing.
And you really, I've known you for a few years now, and you've really said that a lot.
Well,
and it's refreshing to see genuinely someone who has lived that. I just do what I love, and then I get money comes in, and I live my life.
Well, let's go back to when I started my panel trade. Most people enjoy driving their cars. A lot of people love their cars. They come into the workshop on the back of a tow truck. The emotional side of the owner of the motor vehicle is one thing. Having a look at that crumpled piece of metal as another thing. So there's the connection there.
Yeah.
And then pulling it apart, straightening it, repairing it, finishing it off, painting it, polishing it, detailing it, and having the customer, the owner, come up and look at the car and they break down crying because what it was to what it's back to. It's just it's wonderful. It's wonderful to see something come back to life. And that's why I enjoy doing restos.
Yeah.
Because you can bring something back to life.
Yeah.
And I'm going to jump forward a bit, but
Please.
That's the way I look at how my Christian life is, because it's just something that was absolutely annihilated and then come back to something bright, shiny, happy.
Yeah.
Just use the analogy. But that was the thing that really gave me an edge, because I enjoyed seeing the customer come in and seeing their car.
Yeah. Thank God that he gives us all different passions and desires and hobbies and like really like passions, right? Like I don't care about cars. Like I couldn't care about cars. They're cool. I watch a race every now and then. So when I see all these people like spending so much money on their cars and this and that, I'm like, why? Why would you bother? And then someone grabbed me one day and was like, if you had money, what would you spend it on? And I was like, well, I don't know, guitars. Like, give me a fresh new guitar. I'll buy an old 60s guitar, do that thing up, refurbish it all the way, and then have that same emotive response that these people have when you do their cars up. And I was like, it clicked for me. I was like, that is like, people are so passionate about this, and I'm so passionate about this. And thank God that we're not all just exactly the same.
Oh, yeah.
And that like you are so passionate about that and able to help other people who are passionate about it. And even like you've shown me photos of that last car that you did a massive restoration on, and to know how much joy that brings you and passion and enjoyment by using your hands to do that. I don't understand it unless I put it in context of something that is I am passionate about. Thank God that he made us all different.
Yeah. And as an encouragement to anyone out there, as you say, find something that you enjoy doing. Because if you're not enjoying doing it, don't do it.
No.
Because I can remember one of the guys from church years ago when I first started my apprenticeship. He said, if you don't enjoy it, give it up. And that was actually Earl Crawford, who was the head of St George Tech panel beating section.
Wow.
So, because he went to, he and the family went to Gymea Baps. So, it was very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Just those words.
Yeah.
And
they've stuck with you, right?
Yeah. And encourage anyone, if you're struggling doing what you're doing, why are you doing it?
Yeah. I guess like from what I can see, life really is too short to do stuff you don't enjoy.
Oh.
Like at this side of eternity,
Yep.
It really is too short and too, like this life is but a vapor to be just mind numbing yourself for the wrong things.
And also worry about things that you can't change.
Yeah.
And I know that's biblical,
Yeah.
but in all the years that I've worried, and then particularly prior salvation, churned me up and just really lost focus on why I was doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah.
I know it's a cliche,
Yeah.
but it took me a long
Cliches are
time to wake up.
Mm.
And if I can help someone wake up earlier than
Yeah.
many years, couple of decades,
Yeah.
it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, worry will rip us off, won't it? Christ says, why worry about tomorrow? Today has enough worries of its own.
Exactly
It's
right.
true. What I'm paraphrasing because I've gone mind blank of the exact wording, which says, worrying will not add a day to your life.
Correct.
Why worry? It's not going to add anything to your life. Don't worry about it.
Actually, it
Sweet.
detracts because you lose your sleep.
Totally.
And I don't know, you lose your weight, your body breaks out in all sorts of stuff because your body's a good barometer to how you're living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just one of those things that I really struggled with. But now with salvation, yes, you've got concerns. I'd call them concerns, not worries.
Mm. Yeah, there's wisdom. There's like being wise in things that you should be concerned about. But in terms of worrying about the things that we can't control, I'm not good at this. Like, for anyone listening, I'm not good at this. I just know the theory behind it and do my best to apply it, all right? You mentioned before that beautiful analogy you used and then related it to your Christian walk. Messed up, broken car to a fixed and polished version. You know, not perfect, obviously, but fixed and polished and beautiful looking. Take us through like where that kind of started for you, how you got to that point of your faith, out of your first marriage into like what does that all kind of look like as we tie it all in?
I won't go into it, but there was a lot of things in the background for the end of my first marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I was water skiing and I broke my back.
Yep.
Crush fracture at T6 and T7, which I still carry today, but God's
Yep.
grace.
Yeah, someone's vacuuming. I don't know. It's just worst timing.
Tell them to go away.
Start vacuuming the whole way outside.
Yeah, so it was...
So you break your back.
I broke my back
pretty
water skiing.
badly.
Yeah, that was back in 1994, 1st of January 1994 at 4 p.m. in the afternoon.
Wow, look at you go.
So yeah, that was a real change of employment, physical activity, what I needed to do. That was very difficult to get through that. Being in business where it was a non-business failure, but it was just the way it was done and losing everything. And then with the constant arguing with my first wife, just not going down the same path. As a lot of people use the analogy, we're on two different sets of train tracks,
right,
going in different directions.
Right.
And I was a very angry man for a lot of different things. And we got divorced and just so angry over a lot of things in life that I just went and did my own thing. And, yeah, did that for a couple of decades.
Yeah, right.
So,
what is when you say, and go into as much or as little detail as you want, but when you say your own thing for a couple of decades, what does that look like? What did work look like? What was lifestyle like? How do you you know what I'm saying? I know a bit of that in there. That's why I'm poking. I know there's a bit of travel in there, and your job was pretty well paying and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, the early days trying to cope with the divorce and moving out of the family home and renting a home with a couple of other single guys who were losers, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, I'm a bit better than this.
Right.
Financial struggles in the early days, and then just stepping out and giving it a go because I was still employed. I was trying to juggle a job and because I'd broken my back, I was on insurance.
Mm-hmm.
It became very clear to me from the company I was working for at the time that they weren't going to hang on to me. So I had 9 months with them while I was off medically.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, okay, that's it. We can't do it anymore. And here I am trying to get my life back together, and everything's falling apart around me.
Right.
So both marriage, family, and employment.
Yeah.
So just trying to move forward with that. I was very fortunate where I moved into a granny flat with a family, and they, again, here we go. They were the ones that took a punt on me.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because I became very good friends with them.
Yeah.
I was actually groomsman at the daughter's wedding.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was it was wonderful. But going back, and this is where I want to give people encouragement. My first job as a panel beater, they took a punt on me. They took the second job with Trelaws with petrochemical. They took a punt on me. Third was moving into this granny flat at Menai. And these were the old days when you actually had the leader and you could actually read it and then ring up with the old dial phone. I know I'm showing my age.
And the classifieds?
Yeah, and I turned up at the front door and it was, we specifically wanted a female in the granny flat because it's attached to the house.
Right.
And we've got women in the house. And I said, oh, well, that's disappointing because it doesn't actually say in the ad that it's females only.
Right.
So that's a bit disappointing. And the daughter said to me, so where did you live? So I gave her a bit of a short story that I used to live up the road and divorce and all the rest of it. And the mum said, we'll let you have it,
right,
but it's only for 6 months and we'll see how you go.
Yeah, right.
4 years later, I was still living there.
Yeah, right, wow.
As I was moving out and started to get back on my feet to buy my own place, the mother said to me, we have had such a wonderful time with you being here, there's been no issues. And I said, I have to ask you, why did you let me have the unit or the granny flat over a female who you wanted in the first place? And this is 4 years down the track, right? She said, you reminded me of my father.
Oh, wow.
So I thought, wow, that was something.
Yeah.
Again, there's something in the background for all of the people taking a step of faith in me, a risk, or whatever you like.
Yeah. Do you reckon that risk and maybe some of the other risks, do you reckon that did more for you or more for the other person taking the risk, or maybe equal parts?
I think it was equal parts.
Yeah.
Because I used to look after their cars, the pool, mow their lawns and things like that for them, because there were 3 women living in the house at the time. Yeah. And then the one of the daughters got engaged, married, he moved in. So, it was a evolution.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. So you lived there for 4 years?
Yeah, lived there for 4 years.
And this is in the middle of some turmoil.
Oh,
you could say, like,
big time.
Your life's kind of been thrown in all different directions, broken back, going through a divorce. You've got kids as well, so that must be all tied up in that. Work has let you go. Like, it's very tumultuous.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And after 14 years of marriage, just trying to get my head around the split up, the carry on about the children, custody, who pays for what, and things like that. And I know that I was not nice in the way I handled myself. Mm-hmm. And I've asked for forgiveness, and I've moved on, and my first wife and I talk to each other. And so, well, we've got the grandchildren, we've got the children. Yeah. And at the end of the day, the anger, the anguish and everything really didn't get me anywhere. Yeah. If anything, it took me backwards.
Made it worse. Yeah. So what did life look like for Brian at that point, moving out of that granny flat? Like, where were you at with your work? Where were you at with relationships? Where were you at with faith?
Oh, faith had well and truly gone out the door.
Mm.
Because when I'll go down there. I'll go down this path. Because at the time, when we got married, we were going to Gymea Baps. We got married and we moved to Engadine with our second house.
Mm-hmm.
So we started going to Heathcote Engadine Baptist Church.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on the yard roster and all the rest of it.
Mm.
When I broke my back, I was up in Belmont Hospital for a month, I think it was. Then I got flown down to Sydney and then recuperating. So I was home and I had a phone call from someone from the church. Oh, it's your turn to mow the lawns this weekend. And I said, well, I can't because
my back doesn't work.
Yeah, I just... they told me I'd never walk again. But anyway, I proved them wrong with that.
Amen.
And it was just a case of, oh, well, you need to find someone else to do it if you can't do it. And I thought, well, hang on a minute. This is a bit difficult. So, that was when I went, okay, you guys can go and stick it.
Yeah, right.
And this is not what I thought church community was supposed to be about, helping each other.
Right.
And that was not the catalyst, but there was a lot of things in the background that was bubbling up for the split up anyway.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things that didn't help. But that was one thing that does stick out in my mind about not being compassionate and not being understanding.
Mm.
And it was, for what I look at back now at 30 odd years ago, it was a real trigger.
Yeah, right.
Because I really was looking for something and it wasn't there.
Right.
And that something was support.
Yeah. Mm.
So, all those years after that, there was trying to keep a job. I was in and out of a few jobs. I was very fortunate that I could do contract work for different people, so that helped me working for myself. That way I was in a different frame of mind than actually having to work for someone, which took its toll. But it worked. And then I got the opportunity again. This is where God was really, right from day one of my birth, God really looked after. And it took me a long time to work that out. God's hand's been on my life all the way. Again, a job opportunity. I was approached and we'd love to have you on board. And it went from there. Yeah. So, and that was with a diesel engine company, heavy transport. So still in the field, so never got out of it. And that's when I got a position as regional sales manager, looking after a number of customers, doing a lot of travelling around the state. And that was when things started to get back together again. That was when I was given the opportunity to get into my own home again. That was when I bought my unit at Padstow, and things started to come back together financially and a little bit of stability. And then having the money, it was out playing the field, food, wine and women.
Yeah, right.
So, it was just an avenue that gave me the opportunity. My life was work.
Yep.
And that was it. I saw my children whenever I could and had time with them. And looking back at that now, that it really wasn't concrete time with them. It wasn't me. It was just, I'm filling in time because this is my responsibility. Right. But looking back at it, yes, I do it differently. And those people that are looking at it for the future, have a deep, hard look at yourself before you go down the rabbit hole I went down. Because my eldest daughter, at 40 now, she said, Dad, I'm so grateful that your mum got divorced because I couldn't put up with the fighting.
Yeah, right.
And that was something I didn't see.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And we've been divorced for, 30 odd years.
Yeah, wow.
So,
it's the things you don't see.
Yeah, a lot of things you don't see at the time.
Yeah.
But sitting back in reflection now and looking at the things I did, the way I treated people, I'm surprised I still got friends.
Yeah, right.
I really am. And I'm really surprised at people that have stuck with me. When I got this job with the engine company, I made a couple of good friends, and one I'm still very good friends with right now. We talk to each other at least 3 times a week.
Yeah, right.
He comes and stays, and we walk down life's track together. He's unsaved, but it's really good that I'm saved and we can work together. He can see something different in my life.
Yeah.
But getting back to that job where I had the travel, I had the money.
And it was an Asia Pacific role, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I could do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was very good. And I was very good at it. I know that I'm putting tickets on myself.
Yeah.
But why I was good at it was I had no home life.
Right.
So I needed to have work
Right.
as my life. So any customers, because being transport runs 24/7.
Yeah.
So I was available 24/7. So there was no hold as far as home life went, because my life was work. And that's
Do you
why I
think
threw
that
myself into it.
do you think that you were using, because you obviously enjoyed it and
Oh,
you were
yeah.
good at it, but do you think it was trying to fill a hole
It
in
was.
your life?
It was, totally.
Yeah.
That was my life.
Right.
I had nothing else.
Right.
So it was work. And I'd find opportunities so I didn't have to go home.
Right.
My children used to laugh at me because I'd go away for 3 or 4 weeks at a time, turn the fridge off and open up all the cupboard doors so the cockroaches could get in and out without a problem.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a lifestyle.
What kind of toll did that lifestyle start to take?
Relationships where it was some non-existent, some were. I was never a one-night stand, so it was always taking time to get to know that person first before we started dating, and then staying together. But that was always a 3 or 4 month process, and then I was always looking for a long term, and that was what I was working on. Some worked, some didn't, and yeah, there was a couple before I met Lisa. There were a couple along the line that were reasonably long term, so it wasn't out of the ordinary. So yeah, we lived together for a number of years, but still having that employment, because it was just having the overnight bag, stay for a few days and then back off to work, because I didn't have that tie as marriage does.
Right.
Had the commitment, but didn't have the tie.
Yeah.
If people can understand that.
Right. Yeah. So you lived in that job for a while, correct?
Oh yeah, quite a number of years. So
Just living that lifestyle, in and out,
travelling.
travel,
Yep.
credit card, business
Yep.
card, do what you like,
Yep.
kind of lifestyle,
Yeah.
trying to fill that hole.
And yeah, trying to find friendship, trying to find direction. I knew what I had to do for work. I was very focused on that, but as far as a human went, I didn't have much focus at all of where I wanted to be.
Right.
I knew where I wanted to be as far as business went.
Yeah. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but your kind of moment with Christ came through one of those work trips. Is that right?
Yes, I was actually away up in Queensland for a business trip, and there was a lady I'd been seeing for a number of years, and several months before it was all off, that was it, over. And with me struggling, as in to be accepted by someone, and it was just to the point where, no, it's just not working. I've got work, I've been travelling the world, I've got a good expense account, I've got my home, I've got a good vehicle,
You had all the things.
material things, but I didn't have something in my heart. I didn't. I didn't feel satisfied. I didn't feel complete. Where yes, my first marriage was a lot of turmoil, but I still felt complete. I know it might sound really weird, but having children, having a home, having a wife, because we were married 14 years, and having all of that, and then something I was longing for. I met this lady, and I thought things were going okay, but it didn't happen.
Right.
And it was all over, and just trying to find myself. And I thought, well, no, I can't go on.
Right.
It's just pointless. Where I've got these things, but I don't have the one thing that I really want is someone.
Right.
There's a difference between a thing and a person.
Yeah.
And I was on the 10th floor of the hotel, and it was just the loneliness. It was like I was sitting on a chair out in space, and there was just nothing around me, nowhere to put my feet. It was a really weird sensation. And I thought, nope, that's it. I can't do this anymore. So I climbed over the railing out the window on the balcony and looking down 10 floors down at the swimming pool at the bottom of the hotel, and I heard an audible voice behind me say, "What would your children say at your funeral?"
Wow.
I should have killed this, shouldn't I?
No, that's all right.
Sorry about that, folks.
So you heard you're on the edge of the balcony.
Yep.
And you heard an audible voice.
Yes. Yep. I was on the wrong side of the railing, and I heard an audible voice say, "What would your children, what would your girls say at your funeral?"
Wow.
And at that point, I turned around, and there was no one there. And I thought, wow, what would people, particularly my daughters, say about me taking my own life? And that really hit home. I thought, wow, I'm a better person than that. I thought I was stronger. I thought I was a lot more intelligent than that. And that was when I realised that something had to change. I immediately climbed back over the railing and rang my sister, lovely Christian lady, and just spoke with her until the battery on my phone went dead.
Yeah, right.
Gave my life to Christ over the phone, and she actually said to me, "You've been down this track a number of times. Now's the time. You've got to make up your mind now. You can't keep going on like this. You're either going to move forward, or that's it, the end." Went, no. That was the realisation.
Yeah. Amazing.
I know it might be quite hard for some people to get their heads around it, and those people that are contemplating suicide. I know it's a cliche, but for me, it's the best thing I ever did was hear God's voice, because I'm talking, where are we? I'm talking 13 years, 14 years ago now. And the joy, the wonderful things that have happened in the last 14 odd years, who would have thought back then? The total turnaround, the total change in my life is incredible. And that's only through Christ. And sitting here right now, looking back from day one, God's had his hand on me all these years, right from being a little baby boy. In saying that, if I can just turn the clock back 68, 69 years, my brother told me about a situation that I was in as a baby. For years and years and years, I used to have these nightmares of looking up from the bottom of water and seeing faces. You know how you get that effect of rippling?
Yeah.
I'd actually fallen into a pool and was apparently drowning as a baby.
Wow.
Never knew this.
Yeah.
The moment that he told me about that, the dream stopped.
Wow.
So things do happen in your life that you do remember.
Yeah.
But I look at where I am now and remembering or being told about that very first instance where I could have been dead.
Yeah. God had a different plan.
A totally different plan. And since giving my life to Christ, so much has changed. I've had wonderful people around me, supporting people. But I've also changed too. I've actually allowed people into my life where before I was closed off.
So it really was a transforming moment inside and out for you.
Definitely. And I know that was my biggest problem in the, I'd call it the grey, dark years, whatever you want, for those many, many decades, where I was closed off. I wouldn't let people in. I'd only allow people in to what I wanted. There was nothing else that I would succumb to where you've got to do this, you've got to do that, this is the way to do it. No, it was, and I know it's Brian's way or the highway, and that was where I was totally shut off to other people, other thoughts, people trying to speak into my life, people trying to give me advice. No, I know better.
Yeah.
And it was just a case of, I'm going to do it my way.
Yeah.
I'll continue doing it my way. And until I had that encounter with God, that was when it's not my way anymore.
Yeah. It really is. Like, this podcast is called The Road to Damascus, like from Saul to Paul, and you really have had, at that point in your life, a Saul to Paul moment where Christ interjected, says to Saul, "Why are you persecuting me?" Audibly, changes his life forever. But even like looking back, God had his hand all over Saul's life with the way he was raised, the perfect, education, upbringing, status, all these kind of things that then played into his post-salvation moment, post-salvation life, sorry. And it sounds the same for you, where God's had his hand all over your life. He's equipped you. He's resourced you. You've had a lot of hardship. You've learned a lot of lessons. And then one audible moment from God changes the entire trajectory of the rest of your life. And I know you for the last, however 5-ish years, to see how that now outworks in the way that you bless other people, love other people, serve the house of God, serve the kingdom, love your wife, all these kind of things. It really is a Saul to Paul moment from that audible voice. It's quite incredible.
I didn't realise it at the time, but it was the light being turned on. We've just had last week at church Salt and Light, and it was a total light moment where being brought up in a church, going to church, doing all of those things, walking away from church, not having to do anything with them, and in actual fact probably pushing against them because of the call it church hurt.
Yeah.
And coming to the realisation and having a God experience, as you say, this is where it's a total pivotal point where the light actually went on. And so many people can go to church, and I see it now, and I really don't make any apologies for sitting in church and looking around and seeing the people that are just attending. They go, they're not there. And blokes, this is for you. Stop crossing your arms and being angry sitting in church. Just open up. Let God speak to you. You might not be in the right frame of mind then. You might be thinking of all these other things. And women are the same. But particularly for guys, where, no, we can't do it ourselves. We try to. We pretend we can. Because I did. I pretended.
Yeah, I was going to say,
years.
you don't say this as a judgmental attack on, blokes in the church. You say this as a bloke who was there and has learnt the lessons and come through the other side.
Totally.
It's not from judgment, it's from humility that you say, don't be like this.
Yeah.
Open yourselves up.
Yeah. Because by opening yourself up, you're just going to find there's more blessings. And there's a few people I've spoken to, and I've had more blessings from them speaking to them than I've probably given to them, because it's given me a blessing just having the relationship. The first day I met you, it's over 5 years ago now, and walking through the door, and it was, who's this young bloke with all this long hair and everything?
And the tattoos.
He's the pastor. I went, okay, God, you've put us into this situation. You've got a plan for us.
Yeah.
Let's grab it and let's go with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when we walked through the door, Lisa said, yep, this is where God wants us, because we'd prayed that God was not going to leave us in the wilderness when we were looking for a church. Walked through the door, haven't looked back since. But just having that involvement, but opening myself up, as you say.
Yeah.
Opening myself up and allowing other people to speak into my life, allowing the Holy Spirit to speak to me in church and also in other activities that we do. And it's not just all about walking into the building. It's about we've just had the men's retreat, which was absolutely fantastic. We've had the men's Wednesday night when we used to get together, the men and down and dirty. The guys that we've had a couple now with getting out with our cars and going on our trips and just sitting down over lunch and sharing our testimonies and getting to know each other. And again, God's helped me, and I won't tell you who, but do some modifications to their vehicles and help them with their vehicles so we can get up and enjoy. And it's fellowship time with that, where we're both laying under the car. Yes, we're doing some modifications, but we're actually talking about things of God, which you can do.
Yeah.
Just because you've got a spanner in your hand and the car's up in the air, it doesn't stop you talking about the things of God.
No.
Because it's a tool that God uses to attract other people. And as I say, guys, you're not going to get along with everybody. It's that simple, because we're human.
Yeah.
But just take the brick wall down, or at least open the door, and then start pulling the brick wall down, because the changes that you will have yourself, you'll be blessed, and the blessings that you'll get, I can't even start to list them. But I know the number one big blessing I've got is my darling wife Lisa.
Yes.
And I know that's God's biggest blessing. Obviously, children are a blessing, but having that one special person is a blessing from God.
Yeah. So true. I feel like we self-sabotage more than we... Like you're saying, open the door, then we can take the bricks down, but you got to open the door first, and we often don't do that ourselves. We just keep shut off, keep closed off.
It's interesting you say that, because I really believe I self-sabotaged a lot of things I did in my life.
Right.
Working on different projects, whatever, and then, And you're right, I really do think, particularly men, get to a point where, okay, I can't get over this hurdle or whatever, so you self-sabotage.
Yeah. And you just keep yourself in a bit of a cyclical pattern, and you can't get out of it.
Yeah.
It really takes something or someone to break it.
And
So, you go.
It's also your pride, men's pride.
Yeah,
because
pride is a big one for men specifically, isn't it?
we want to be breadwinner. We want to be the, as you said before, the fixer of all things.
Yeah.
And we can't fix everything. It's the women can fix stuff as well, but we just got to let them.
Yeah.
But just us as blokes, just being true to ourselves first, and that's where I made the biggest mistake, not being true to myself.
Right.
For decades.
Yeah.
Sometimes there was snippets where I was true to myself, allowing myself to do things, and in some areas where I was successful, but there were more areas where I was not successful because that was where I was trying to control.
Yeah.
But knowing God's hand has been on my life right from the beginning to right now, I can't deny it.
Yeah.
But there's just no way I can deny it, because the blessings that God's given us, the people that God has put around us, the total change in my life, and as a wonderful married man now, our life as a married couple.
Yeah.
But yeah, the blessing, they just keep coming.
Yeah. So cool.
So yeah, and I did Lisa and I do a daily devotion every morning. We get up, coffee, devotion, and then we start our day every day, no matter where we are. We love travel, as you know, and when we're away in Vietnam, just recently for my 70th birthday. Thank you very much, everyone.
Same day as my wife's.
So we did our devotion every morning before we started our day's tour and our activities. And we've always done that right from day one when we got married. And it's such a blessing. We did a devotion a few weeks ago on prayer, and I'll paraphrase it, but it was along the lines of, God knows what we want. We are pretty pathetic at the way we pray to God. And why are we giving God a shopping list? I just continue to pray of thanks for what God has done for me. And my daily prayer is, and I've shared this with a lot of people, my daily prayer is, if I can witness to one person each day, I've done what God wants me to do.
It's beautiful. Yeah, and you really do that. It's really annoying, actually, but you really do live that lifestyle.
You know when they say to get into a habit it takes 4 or 5 weeks?
Yeah, something like that, 21 days or something.
Yeah, something like that. I didn't find it a habit because it was something that I really enjoyed. And not putting tickets on myself again, people come up to me and say, there's something different about you. And I really take that as a badge of honour, because I want to be different. I want people to see that, hey, there's something different about you. There's something different the way you approach people. The other day I was doing something and I had someone that was very agitated and not happy. And in the old days, I would have blasted and gone off.
Right.
But this was just, okay, if that's the way you feel, I can't change the way you feel. I can't change the situation. Just let them rave, rant and carry on. And, okay, you calm down now. Okay, let's move on. Because at the end of the day, there's no point in trying to push my point of view across them. But this is where God softened me and really changed my way of thinking, where I wanted to be in control before.
Yeah, right.
But now...
We're not in control.
No.
It's cute that we think we're in control.
Well,
it's an illusion.
It's a dream, but yeah.
How much do you think that you're saying people look at you and say you're different to what we expect from most people? How much of that do you think begins or cultivates itself in that daily devotion that you have every day of your life?
Oh, it has to. It has to, because when you come up with a daily devotion, particularly as I said about the prayer, we're going through one at the moment where it's about the sowing of the seed and how effective are we as Christians because we're the seed. Are we on rocky ground? Are we on thorny ground? Are we on good soil? And are we taking that in? Are we growing? And that's where I really believe starting each day with prayer and having God's hand upon us and God's hand upon me, which 20 years ago, I wouldn't have wasted my time. Coffee, out the door. That was it. But there's a change.
Yeah.
And whether people believe me or not, I know there's a change.
Yeah, it's the fruits of the Spirit as well. It's exactly what you were talking about with that situation you had the other day, being calm and kind and gentle. It's all fruits of the Spirit. And you can't have the fruits of the Spirit unless you're rooted in the Spirit. So if we're rooted every day in the Spirit, we're going to have his fruits.
Yeah. And I actually enjoy doing the devotion every morning because it gives Lisa and me extra time with God. Not that we don't do that anyway, because we pray when we go to bed. We thank God for the day that we've had. We thank God that we're home safe, we're together. But starting the day with God, so it gives us focus of where we're going for the day. We know what we're doing, and we know God's hand is upon us. And that's why I have no fear of, I don't have to worry. Fear is probably the wrong word, but worry, where we were talking earlier about worrying about things we can't change. God's got a plan for all of us. God's got a plan for both of us. God's got a plan for me. I don't know what that plan is. I just have to take a step of faith every day. And when God talks to me through the devotions that we have, what am I doing? A few weeks ago was the parable of the manager, where you're given money.
Right.
One buries it, the other one or the other two go out and invest it. So God's given us the ability to earn financially. So what do? We're not burying it. We're giving it away to God's people or whoever, and more comes back to what we give. Which
stewarding it faithfully.
It's economically, mathematically, it's incorrect. But you give, and more comes back. So
it's an upside down kingdom.
It's the right way round kingdom because we know where we're going.
Yeah.
You know, when I look at the where Jesus washed the disciples' feet, like how humbling is that? And we can't even get into church on time. We can't even do our daily devotions each day or once a week or whatever. We can't give God that time.
Yep.
And how long did it take him to wash the disciples' feet? Because the feet are the most ugliest part of the body, let's face it. And then you got all the dirt. So
well, they wore flipping sandals in Middle Eastern times. It's not tarred roads and grass everywhere.
So he's the Son of God washing the disciples' feet. Then he goes to the cross, gets killed for us, rises again. So that's where Easter is the happiest time that we should be looking at, because Christ died for us. That's my salvation. That's your salvation. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Because we know where we're going. I don't have to worry about tomorrow. I don't have to worry about where I'm going.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know my future.
Yeah.
30 years ago, not real sure about my future.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Even 15 years ago, not real sure about my future.
It's it's like Paul said, to die is gain.
Yeah.
It's crazy that Jesus, because you're talking about being generous and selfless and...
Hang on.
You grab some water. And Jesus knew he was going to go to the cross, and how he chose to spend his time was with his disciples washing their feet. Like, that is so humbling and lowly and it is agape love. That is agape love right there. And there's deeper meanings into the kind of imagery of washing feet and those times and stuff, but time is eluding us. Take me back to, well, don't take me back, but so you have this incredible salvation moment. You've called your sister. You've given your life back to Christ, essentially. what happened after that?
Flew back to Sydney from Brisbane, and she came and picked me up from the airport because I was living by myself at that time.
Yep.
I actually moved in with her for just on 3 months because it wasn't an easy journey back. I went and had professional counselling with a wonderful Christian counsellor.
Very important.
That was stepping me through the worldly things.
Yep.
As well as the Christian things.
Yep.
Because getting a correct perspective on my life, where I'd been, was the life that I'd lived. And coming to a point where I had to accept responsibility for what I'd done in the past, but it was a new beginning for me, and God was giving me the responsibility of my future. But it was a different type of responsibility. It was a blessing where I was trying to do everything myself in the past, where God's giving me these blessings, giving me these people around me, giving the tools, the finances, call it whatever you want. But God was just giving all of this, even to the point with my sister looking after, and her husband. We're just taking me in for those 3 months. So it was the transition of having people around me again and learning to accept other people and not trying to be in control.
Right.
Humbling myself.
Yeah. And so you kind of go through this season of finding Christ again, all of this forgiveness, you've kind of enter a bit of like a redemption chapter of Brian's story, and then tell me about getting into a church. Did that come easy? Did that come naturally? Where did you land?
I actually started going to church with my sister.
Yep.
Went there for a while, and then I got the feeling that I was too much under her wing. And I thought, okay, I need to step out myself. I really believed I felt strong enough. So I started going to another church, and which was good. I met a couple of people, and there was one guy I walked in on the church, and he was in the transport game, and we knew each other. So again, God's hand at work. Like I walk in, and I hadn't seen this guy for a long time. And it's, what's going on? So I shared my testimony with him, and which was absolutely wonderful. From there, and then my youngest daughter said to me, Dad, you're church hopping. And I said, what are you talking about on church hopping? She said, well, you're going to that church in the morning and you're going to that church at night. I said, yeah, I'm just trying to find where God wants me. Hang on, I'm going to cough. Pardon me. And she said, well, you need to settle down in the church. And I said, well, I'll come to church with you, because she was a single mum, and that way I could get to see my granddaughter. So I started going to church with them. So that's where it all started from, having the time with her, having the time with my granddaughter. That's where I met Lisa at the church, because Lisa actually knew my daughter and my granddaughter before I walked through the door.
Yeah, right.
So been in the church a couple of years, and the old story, particularly as an older person, because Lisa had never been married before,
right?
Never had children, and it was the old matchmake type of thing, it's anyway. So we got talking, we got married, and we were in the church for a few years, and then God spoke to me first, and then spoke to Lisa about moving on, because God had greater things for us that were being hindered in the church that we were in at the time. And when we left that church, God's hand was upon us, because, as I said before, Lisa's prayer was, as we move out of that church, to not leave us in the wilderness and put us in another church, which we straight in the door and haven't looked back since.
Yeah. And you bless our community deeply. and greatly.
Oh,
You drove past the church building, right? And went, this is the one.
Yeah, we were actually driving around the Shire. We looked online. This was just at the end of COVID 2, and
2.0.
whatever. And we were driving around, and we looked at a couple, and we pulled up out the front. And Lisa said, "Oh, this looks like a little pioneer church." I said, "Oh yeah." So I looked online. Went, "Yeah, this looks okay. All right." So that Sunday, that was a Saturday. Actually, it was the following day.
Yeah, right.
Righto, we know where to go. All good. There's parking there. Yep. And looked online, see who in the zoo, and yep, off we go. Walked through the door and haven't looked back since.
Do you remember when that was? Because I feel like you came to our prayer and fasting very shortly after.
Yes, it was November 20, because
Yep.
prayer and fasting was February 21.
21, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Wow.
Yep, didn't look back. The moment we walked through that door, God's hand was on the people in the place. I actually felt the touch of God in the worship service, and I actually felt the touch of God in that place. I know people call it a building, the four walls and all the rest of it, but it was the situation. God's hand was on the situation, and I knew that was the place God wanted us. Because as I said, we moved the old church because I knew God had more for me.
Right.
I knew God had a purpose for me, particularly with my pretty vivid past and my testimony, and particularly being a divorced bloke. The number of divorced people I've spoken to in the very early days of walking through the church has been incredible. And to you guys that I've spoken to and that have opened up to me, thank you for your honesty, your openness, and trusting me with your story. Because we have similar stories. We don't have the same. We have similar. I can't feel your pain. I can only understand your pain because I've had my own pain. Because when someone comes up to you and say, "Oh yeah, I feel your pain," nah, sorry, I have my pain. You've got your pain. We all handle it differently. But at least I can understand where they're coming from because I've been down that journey.
Yeah.
And God really opened the door for that. Because it's quite funny. Let me give you a little story. When Lisa and I went out for coffee on the first date, which was the 4th of June 2016, and we talked about what we wanted, particularly as older people, having our own homes and careers. What are your aspirations? We both want to be missionaries. So what does missionary look like in the church? Oh, yeah, you pack up your bag and you go to some country the other side of the world and live in a grass hut and all of this type of thing. When God opened my eyes to the ministry, when we walked in the church, I could see us as missionaries, particularly with blokes, with single guys. And that's where I said to Lisa, I think it was the second or third week we were there, and someone came up to me and we were talking, and I actually shared my story. They shared their story. We're still talking to this very day. And it was, that's the mission field God's put me into.
Yeah.
Hence why I'm here now talking about divorce, salvation, talking about suicide, talking about control, talking about having the wild things of life, having the doing it my way. It's all about me. It's not all about me. But that was a lesson I had to learn, and we all have to learn the lesson ourselves.
Beautiful. We'll wrap it up in a sec.
That's okay.
But I think probably closing thought would be, if someone's listening to this and they've made it this far and they're in a real dark, lonely, isolated, tumultuous place, life hasn't been kind to them, very much similar to where you kind of found yourself, outside of a miraculous God moment, what are you saying to that person?
Reach out. Don't do it on your own because you can't. You need to reach out, but you need to take that step first. You need to take it. Get out of the mindset of you can do it yourself. You can't. But you need to reach out, but reach out to someone that you feel or know that will not judge you. And that's why I was so comfortable with my sister.
Right.
Because we'd been through life together. We grew up. We didn't have an easy childhood, but we knew what we'd been through together.
Yeah.
So it was, I won't say it was easy reaching out to her, but she was the logical choice.
Right.
Because some days I still go, oh, why? But I now know why. Because I didn't get on with my sister. But yeah, God turned all that around, and she was the one that I could trust, that I could rely on. And you can't get anything stronger than family. But having her as a very strong Christian person, and her husband, very strong Christian people. Don't do the journey alone, please. If you're struggling, even to the point of get in contact with Declan. He'll give you my contact. I can't judge. I don't have the right to judge anybody else because it was my life. But if I can help just one person, as I say, just one person. But for all those people down that dark alley, there is life after it. I know it's a cliche because I heard it so many times.
Yeah.
And it was, oh yeah, this is crap. Am I allowed to say that?
Of course you can.
Lifeline, Beyond Blue, there are those organisations which I never went down because of with my sister. One thing that was very, very, very humiliating was having to report to the police station daily because I was on suicide watch.
Right.
Particularly with the position I thought I held in the community.
Right.
And here I am fronting up the police station. Yep, you're here. You're good. Okay, you're on your meds and all the rest of it. So that was part of that 3-month journey as well.
Yeah.
So please, in finishing, don't do the journey alone.
Yeah.
Reach out to someone. There is someone out there that has walked the journey, and I'm willing to walk the journey with you. And I really pray, and I believe there are people out there that will walk the journey with you as well. And not judging, because that was the thing that really got me, was I really felt that I was being judged all the time because of where I was, particularly going into the police station like, oh yeah, here's another druggie, he's tried to do himself in and all the rest of it. But yeah, no, it's just, that's the mindset where I'm not going to judge you.
Yeah.
It's not my right to judge you, but please reach out.
Yeah, and if you are listening or watching and you are in a space of you don't really have actual people around you, like you might not be in our local area, anywhere in Australia, or maybe there's other people in the world that listen to this, we would love to help you as well. So if you need to, just message us on Instagram or wherever you get your podcasts or social media things, and we will help connect you with someone close to where you are so that you do not do this alone.
Yeah.
Because it's so important.
Yeah. And in closing, a couple of points. Don't do it alone. Reach out. But for me, the best thing I ever did was give my life to Christ. And the best thing God ever did to me was speak to me. Because I still believe that if he hadn't said what he did, what are your girls going to say at your funeral? I wouldn't be here today talking to you and talking to everybody out there in the rest of the world.
I'm just having this thought, how beautiful that question is redemptive in its nature, in that he asked you that in a more negative moment of your life where the answer wasn't so great, but now the answer is much better.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what will they say at your funeral now? Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you've actually completely changed that around.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just a question to save you in a specific moment, but it was a question that was like the hope for the rest of that Christian journey.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah. Because now, at my funeral, everybody knows where I'm going, so it's going to be a wonderful party.
Yeah.
Got no fear of the future because our future's secure in Christ.
Yeah. Amen.
Thanks, Declan.
Can you pray for us before we close
Yes.
and then finish up?
God, I just thank you for this opportunity that I can share with Declan and with all of the rest of the world. Whoever sees this, hears it. Lord, I just pray a blessing on those people that are struggling. I pray that the journey that I've had in my life can help at least one person that can see the true love that you give to us. I pray for that person to give their life to you, Jesus, because you are the one who changes lives. Lord, I just thank you for the wonderful things that you have given me. I thank you for this second chance of life. Lord, I pray that I don't waste it. And I pray for those people out there that are sitting on the fence, that you just give them that push that opens their eyes as they hit the ground, that they hit reality that, yes, life is short, life is precious, but life has so much to give because you give us that life. Lord, I thank you for salvation. I thank you for dying on the cross for us.
Amen.
And Lord, most of all, I pray that each and every one of us has the opportunity to witness to another person. And for those people that haven't given their lives to Christ, I pray for them. I pray that their hearts are open, their eyes are opened. And Lord, I just pray your hand upon them, that in some miraculous way that you speak to them, because I know you are the God of miracles. And I thank you for answering prayer. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thanks, Dick.